My name is Zoe. I'm standing at the edge of the lake in front of the old lake house, the cold wind biting at my cheeks. The house, once filled with the echoes of family, now stands silent, a testament to the end of a long-standing chapter. It's hard to believe how far I've come from that night when everything fell apart. I remember the day my father invited me to the game night. It was a one-line text, no apology, no explanation. Section 112 ROG. Game night. Let's talk. I read it 3 times, and even though I knew he still thought this was about negotiation, I said yes. I knew he had the backpack by then and had at least skimmed through its contents. The stadium was packed. The air was thick with the smell of metal snowmelt and mustard. The noise from the crowd was deafening, a chaotic symphony of people looking for something to scream about. I spotted my father, Henry, right where he said he'd be. He was sitting with the black backpack on his lap, looking like a man defending a past he couldn't afford to have questioned. He looked older, more haggard than I remembered. I sat 2 seats away. He didn't say hello, just grinned as if he was giving me a second chance. His hand tapped the bag, calling it our little time bomb. He said it wouldn't hold up, that no one would believe a few bills, a voice message from a dead woman, and a property deed she probably didn't mean to sign. His words were sharp and fast, but I could see the panic in his eyes. He told me I was cruel, that I'd embarrassed the family. He said Mom, Lily, was crying, that my sister, Emily, was losing sleep, and that my 14-year-old niece, Mia, had to face questions at school. Finally, he asked, "What do you want?" I just looked at him and the crowd around us. The noise was a blur, and I said nothing because he already knew the answer. I stood up. He grabbed my sleeve, but I shook him off gently. I walked 1 row up and turned to face him. I took a deep breath and said, "My name is Zoe. For 20 years, I've paid for this family to function. Not because they asked, but because they never thought I'd say no." People around us turned to look. A woman near the aisle whispered, "Isn't that the girl who paid for everything?" I held up the folder, the one I'd packed the night I left. The light caught the seal of the deed. Someone behind me snapped a photo. "This is the transfer deed to the lake house. My grandmother, Rose, signed it 6 months before she died. She gave it to me because I was the only one who stayed with her when she couldn't walk anymore." My father tried to speak, something about legacy and misunderstanding, but I didn't let him finish. "You always told me I was lucky you raised me, but the truth is you never did. I raised myself and then carried all of you." I stepped forward and dropped the folder at his feet. "You don't have to like it, but you don't get to lie about it anymore." Then I walked up the stairs, past rows of silent strangers. I didn't run, and I didn't look back. It all started at Mia's birthday party. I was standing beside the cake table when Mia peeled back the plastic on the iPhone I'd bought her. She giggled, her fingers delicate on the box. "Aunt Zoe, Mom says if you disappear tomorrow, no one would even notice." She said it like a joke, but it stung. Across the room, people laughed. Emily didn't even look up from her wine glass. She was leaned back on the couch, one leg crossed, smirking. Mom was in the kitchen, stirring something she wouldn't eat. Her shoulders lifted slightly, a sign that she approved. Dad, sitting in his worn armchair by the sliding doors, raised his beer can and said, "She's not wrong." I'd always been the one to step up. I paid the overdue school fees when Emily forgot. I added them all to my Netflix account because Mom couldn't figure out how to log in on the TV. And now, it seemed I was the one who wouldn't be missed. I didn't say a word. I pulled out my phone and with 2 taps, I turned off the utilities, canceled the streaming, disabled the shared phone line, and stopped the mortgage auto payment. Just like that, I disappeared. No one noticed as I slipped out of the house. The cold outside was a shock. I drove to my apartment, a 3rd-floor walk up with no elevator and terrible insulation. I'd lived there for 8 years, but that night it felt like a waiting room. I made tea and then opened the closet. I pulled down an old black backpack I hadn't touched since college. I filled it slowly with printed copies of utility bills I'd paid, a thumb drive labeled family records, prepaid tuition slips from Mia's school, a photo of me and Grandma Rose, and the quick claim deed to the lake house. At 2:13 a.m. I slung both bags over my shoulder and left. I drove across the city in the dark and left the backpack by the bottom stair of my mother's house. By the time they opened it, I was already out of state. The next day, the calls and texts started pouring in. By 7:41 a.m. Emily had called my phone 4 times. By 8:12, Mom texted, "Something's wrong with the Wi-Fi. Can you check?" By 8:26, Dad's pharmacy app declined his insurance refill. And by 9, the thermostat clicked cold. I ignored them all. I sat in a diner 2 towns over, sipping black coffee that tasted like burnt pennies, watching sleet collect in the parking lot. By noon, Emily called again. "Zoe, what the hell is going on?" Mom's freaking out. Dad's yelling. "The utilities are all screwed up. Mia has an online test this week, and the internet's just gone." Another message said, "Was this your way of punishing us? Seriously, grow up." I smiled because the panic was familiar. I'd just never been allowed to share in it. Later, I got an email from the mortgage lender about the auto payment cancellation and a past due status warning. Mom texted that Dad was very upset and that the family was falling apart. At 6:45, someone knocked on my apartment door. 3 sharp, impatient hits. Then came my father's voice, "Zoe, open this goddamn door." He hadn't been to my apartment in 6 years, not since I moved out to give Emily space when she got divorced and moved back in with a child and a pile of debt. I stood behind the door, quiet as a mouse. He said I was just a bitter little girl with a paycheck and that I owed them. I waited until he finally walked away. The next morning, I woke up to 26 missed calls. 7 from Mom, 9 from Emily, 3 from Mia. Mia's last message said, "There's a black bag by the stairs. Was that you?" They opened the backpack together. Inside were all the bills I'd paid over the years, Dad's pharmacy receipts, Mia's school tuition invoices, and a grocery list with a note on the back. There was also the flash drive with Grandma Rose's voicemails and the scanned PDF of the quit claim deed. And at the end there was the photo of me and Grandma Rose on the porch swing, with her handwriting on the back, "Zoe deserves something that lasts." 3 days later, I saw a Facebook post from Mom. She was standing beside Emily and Mia, smiling. The caption read, "Sometimes families go through hard seasons, but love finds its way. We believe in forgiveness even when it's not returned." I didn't respond. I'd already laid the truth at their feet. Later that week, I sat at my kitchen table, a cup of tea cooling in my hands. The apartment was quiet, the kind of quiet you earn. Then came a message from my father, "You'll regret this." "We won't." I blocked their numbers. It wasn't out of anger or punishment. It was a decision. And now, here I am at the lake house. The paint is peeling, the gutters are half detached, and the porch swing is gone. But it's mine, and I'm finally free from the role they wrote for me. I stand on the porch steps, sipping my coffee, and enjoy the quiet that lets me breathe deeper.